Right, good morning everyone and welcome to this latest starting council meeting of the 16th of March. I'll take us through the prayer. O God, our Creator, bless us as we gather today for this meeting, guide our minds and hearts so that we will work for the good of our community and help all your people. Teach us to be generous in our outlook, courageous in face of difficulty and wise in our decisions. We ask this grace through Christ our Lord. Amen. Right, had the prayer. Apologies, please, for this meeting. Councillor Bevan's an apology. Thank you. Someone happy to move that Councillor Bevan be his apology be received? You happy, Councillor Pipe? Seconder. Thank you, Councillor Graham. All those in favour? Aye. And against? Carried. Notices? Any notices for this meeting?
Chairman, I do have to ask the public excluded minutes. Are we going to go into public excluded to confirm those today, or are they going to be held over until the...
My suggestion is we hold them over till the meeting in a fortnight's time.
Yeah, it's helpful if that's noted then in the minutes of this meeting, so
yeah.
There is a paper trail where the minutes
Sure, thank you. Thank you. Conflict of interest declarations. There being none. Confirmation of the minutes of the 24th of February. Excuse me, bear with me as we go through for accuracy. Page 2, page 3, 4, 5, page 6, page
Chair,
7. Sorry.
I'm just a little bit confused about page 5 and 6.
Sure.
So this is probably just I am confused. It's all moved. Did we move all of those things in one hit?
5 and 6.
Yes.
I thought because when Councillor Dick abstained, I thought that was on a particular point that was contentious, and some people voted for and some people voted against, and Councillor Dick abstained. I thought it was on a particular point. It looks like he abstained on all of this.
That is what happened.
That is what happened, yeah. I mean, we could double check that back on the webcasting, but I'm sure that Leanne's already done that anyway, and in her view, that is what happened. He abstained on the full decision.
Okay.
And
Page 6, page 7, page 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, signature at the end, 15. Someone happy to move? They're a true and correct record. Thank you, Councillor Scott. We have a seconder for that. And I'll second that. Discussion, I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Matters arising from those minutes. There being none, let's now then go to the decision item, which is on page 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, councillors. This paper has arisen from a decision made at the last council meeting on the 24th of February, where council made an in-principle decision in regards to entering into a 35-year water user contract with Ruataniwha Water Limited Partnership. And the details of that particular decision are set out there. At the council meeting, although it was not recorded in any resolution, there was a fair amount of discussion, and certainly the feedback that the staff obtained was that there was some questioning around whether or not this decision could be classed as significant, and if so, whether or not there was a need for public consultation on the decision. So immediately following that, I've set out the process in the paper. We received advice from Stephen Lucy of Audit New Zealand, who looked at the categories around what is significant and also what then triggers a long-term plan amendment. And in paragraph 6, I have gone through each of those points that he had outlined in paragraphs 5.1 to 5.5 and commented. And on the basis of that assessment, we're recommending that the decision, the in-principle decision that you made back on the 24th of February, proceed as an amendment to the long-term plan for those particular reasons outlined there, and subsequently be consulted on as part of this current annual plan consultation round. Thank you.
Questions? Councillor Pike.
Mr. Lucy said that given the issues, strongly recommended we obtain legal advice. Did you get legal advice? If so, what was it? And if not, why didn't you get it?
Yeah, no, we did not obtain legal advice, and there was a couple of reasons for that. One was simply a matter around timing. If this is an amendment to the long-term plan, it needs to go to audit, and it needs to go today. So in order for them to be able to do what they need to do to check it and get it back to council for you by the 30th of March when you adopt the annual plan. But secondly, in looking at Mr. Lucy's advice and his interpretation around the criteria, really we felt that a legal opinion would do one of two things. It would either say, no, we don't need to, or else it would say, yes, you do need to amend your long-term plan. And given what appeared to be to me at the last meeting a consensus of the councillors that this did indeed need to be consulted on, we felt that it was actually prudent just to go straight to an amendment to the long-term plan to give people an opportunity to comment on it.
Further questions? Councillor Belford.
Just starting with point 6.9, it would appear that part of the case for this is that there's a safety valve in that if we were to enter this agreement, we could always unload the water if we've in fact found there were no environmental uses for it. Where does that assumption come from? Most of the discussion has been that we would have all this water on hand, and
Well, hang on, you've asked a question. Where does the
well, I
assumption
want
come
to expand what my question is. On the one hand, all of this is based, is it not, on the assumption that there would be a market for that water? And where is that coming from?
It's not a fundamental assumption that the water would be sold. We assume that there will be environmental benefits from this water, and that there actually will be environmental uses for it over the life of the agreement. However, if, for example, there's a particularly high rainfall year, for example, and there isn't the need for all of that water or any of it, let's say, then there would be an opportunity, as with for us to be able to return that water to Ruataniwha Water Limited Partnership for on-selling. Probably there would be no market if it was already a wet year, but there is that provision, and that's just a standard provision.
That's the point. I mean, we're presenting this as though it's a no risk.
Hang on. We can have this discussion in the debate, Councillor. You've had your question. Councillor Hewitt.
Thank you. Thanks to our Chief Executive. This is a good paper. I think it's really important that the community has their say in this discussion. I'm wondering if I can traverse the actual figures. I have a problem with throwing large figures out in millions and millions of dollars over a 35-year time period, which for many people is intergenerational. So I'm quite keen to see this figure broken down in a per annual figure, and I'd like to see the figure broken down on the actual price of the water, not the variable charge for energy, to be included in there. So I'm wondering if you can update us on what that's looking like in 2016 dollars.
I can't with the actual totals right this minute, but we have been verbally advised by HBRC that the figures that were presented to us in February were too high, and that they did include the variable energy charge, and they need to advise us in writing as soon as possible so we can pass that on to the auditor, the correct figures.
So just the maths as I do it is 940,000 per annum.
Is at 2016 figures, yes, it's $940,000 per annum.
Thank you.
Question.
Councillor Belford.
Given the conditions that we're already put on this, what's the urgency of making this decision now? We,
Decision to consult. I think that's been explained.
yeah, why do we need to decide on the basis of clearly no additional staff work has gone into what these environmental uses might be?
All we're deciding on today is to consult. Correct.
Well, I thought we had decided we were going to rescind this decision
Well,
and then proceed
No,
to
we didn't.
decide what we would consult on.
order, councillor. You've read the paper. You know what's there.
Perhaps I could just
you need
explain
to repeat that answer.
So the process of revocation of a council decision is that a notice of motion is received by me, set number of days before a meeting, asking that the decision be revoked and replaced with an amended motion. I haven't received that. So I've proceeded on the basis that there was certainly a clear support around the table for public consultation.
Someone happy to move?
I'd just like to ask a question around 6.1. There is no change in the actual projected rate of return of 6%. We're still looking for that 6% or more.
Yes, councillor, there's no, we haven't been notified of any change in that target rate.
And could I just ask a couple of questions around that, Mr. Chairman, that should council, after consultation, if we make the decision to go to consultation and then when we adopt the annual plan in June, make the decision to go ahead with this, that investment would actually lead to a greater flow through dividend return over the life of the 35 years? So there would be some offset of those costs?
Well, certainly, if the more water that's sold, the stronger the cash flows. The stronger the cash flows, the more money they're paid out to investors. And HBRC, being our company, will receive a higher rate of return over that period.
Will the consultation document reflect some of that information?
As far as possible, it will. We'll certainly be, expressing it in terms of additional percentage increase in returns.
And could I just further to that, flip it over, and should that sit and remain within the concession deed, and of course everyone hasn't signed that yet, so it's an if that remains there and council has not committed to it and has not budgeted sufficiently for it and therefore doesn't use it, that would actually amount to a financial loss to all investors, including council, would it not?
Certainly mean that would be, if the water's not taken up for whatever reason, there's less cash flows to investors, yeah. So there is a cost.
Including council?
Including
Through
HBRC. Through HBRC to council.
Councillor
Thank you.
Hewitt.
And again, I guess I have to ask that will be reflected in the consultation document.
Yes.
Councillor Hewitt.
Thank you. Question for Mr. Maxwell. I'm interested in some of the things that you might be able to enlighten us with regard to environmental flows and where you see some of the benefits might be being attributed.
So, yes, Councillor, they were laid out in the paper originally that supported this in the first round of discussion. There were things like additional flushing flows, improving flows through some of our spring-fed systems across the plains, the potential, if the scheme advances and develops into the Mangatarata and the Whatuma wetland areas, to put flows through those sorts of areas. From memory, there were 5 or 6 different categories that were in the original paper that we had given you a qualitative assessment on, and the detail that would flow from the work, if this carries on, would be quantification of and identification of where the best value lay in those flows.
Councillor Pike.
Just a follow-on question, Ian. Given the work that your science team are already doing right now, do you have the resources, though, to actually do that sort of work in the time frame that's needed?
A lot of the work that would support this is associated with the types of work the team are doing anyway, so we would look to tag it on. There's no indication from the staff that they see that the need for more resource to conduct the work. There's probably some consultancy costs involved in modelling some options that we can accommodate within our existing budgets and workload.
Councillor Graham.
Yeah, Chair, given what our Chief Executive said a few minutes ago, re-notice of motion, is that saying that there is no opportunity today to discuss and vote on whether this can be rescinded?
Correct.
There's no opportunity to do that.
Councillor Belford.
Given the specificity of this particular proposal, my question has to do with what would be considered within the bounds of legitimate submissions, if you will. If this goes to public consultation, could people propose they like this? Could they propose we don't want to do it at all? Could they propose there are different ways of using the money that is being the opportunity cost that's involved in this? Could they say, well, we like the idea of environmental flows, but we want a more robust plan of attack on that, and maybe even spend more money? I mean, what is the legitimate scope of submission on this? Because we've had episodes in the past where submissions seem to be ruled out of order because they have not narrowly focused on the proposition ahead of them.
Well, and indeed, they have been. There is no, we don't put a limit on what types of issues or what the scope of what somebody can submit on. That's certainly a part of any public consultation. But it comes back to really what the councillors believe is relevant for their consideration of the decision. And it's the council, you yourselves, who are the decision makers around this proposal and whether or not the submissions that are received assist you in making up your minds on that or not. That's really where there's no artificial scope put on by us on what could be put forward as an option, but it's whether or not you as a decision makers willing to take that into account. That's really where any limitations come.
I'll come back down the table. Councillor Pipe.
If this is passed today and we do go out to consultation, it's been said around the table here that goes into the consultation document, but I just want to get a bit of a handle on what sort of information is going to be out there in the public arena other than maybe just the consultation document, or what is going to be in the consultation document, rather than, I don't want to see it just sort of hidden in a line somewhere, or not hidden in a line, but just it needs to be up front. And I think people need to have the information in a readable and understandable way what this decision means. So how are you going to deal with that?
Well, there'll be a number of ways, Councillor. The consultation document itself, which you will be seeing next week and will adopt on the 30th of March, as you will yourselves be familiar with, there's 4 other issues in there which are variations to the annual plan. So if you like, they're the next level down from this amendment to the long-term plan. So they're covered, and this would be the 5th topic in that. So those are the specific elements of our current document that we're consulting on. There will be, as there was last year when we had the consultation document, there will be links to further information that will be available on our website for people who want to look at the detail, and I might get Mr. Drury to answer what that would look like as well, because there will be some financial information available to people to help them understand that. There will be public meetings as part of the annual plan consultation throughout the region. So there's another opportunity then for people to ask for information or to ask for clarification on any information as well. So the process really is consultation document, which is essentially a summary of the issues that we want to consult on, but lying underneath that is the detailed information that we have available to help people inform themselves.
So this will be an issue in the long-term plan that will generate a huge amount of interest. So I just think, when are you going to set the dates? Because you haven't set the date for any of these dates, just saying May.
For the meetings?
For the
Yeah,
meetings.
so that'll come back. I don't know if Drew's here, but
Opera House kitchen might not be big enough.
it's fine. We'll make it well, we can't make the Opera House. Whatever.
But I just say it's
yeah,
imperative
yeah.
to set these dates so the public know
Yes.
well in advance.
So when next, in a fortnight's time, when you adopt the draft annual consultation document, there will also be a paper on consultation which will actually have those dates finalised.
Well, supplementary to that though, will they be finalised, or can we still have some opportunity to talk about considering what Councillor Graham's just said, whether we need different venues or different times or whatever?
Drew's just given me the thumbs up. Yes, we can do that. Yeah.
Okay, further questions then? Councillor Scott, you happy to move? We have a seconder?
Mr Chairman, could I actually add an addition to the recommendation?
Sure.
And maybe Leanne can put it up on the screen. And the addition, which is point 3, the addition is requests that HBRC staff arrange a workshop in public excluded to allow HBRC, Hawke's Bay Regional Investment Company, to brief council on the projected distributions and the cash flows over time with increase of uptake from the Ruataniwha Water Limited Partnership.
So that's the second
And
point. We have someone, well, hang on, we need a seconder first. Someone happy to second that? Let's get it up there. So that'll be a number 3.
Yep.
Correct? You happy to second that? Councillor Hewitt, okay. Wish to speak, Councillor Scott?
Mr Chairman, I think that this is a no-brainer to go out to consultation over it. To ask a legal opinion as to whether we should go out to consultation really becomes irrelevant when, for the sake of good practice, we actually go out and consult the public. Do they want to take advantage of these benefits to enhance our waterways for the future? We're looking at times, the predicted climate change over this time is going to put a lot of stress on these waterways, which in turn puts a lot of stress on the biodiversity of the waterways. So this is a chance to actually look ahead and access water for the benefit of the environment and to contribute to the benefit of the biodiversity of the region. We will, I realise that third point says incompetence, but it is at the moment that some of these figures, the cash flows obviously are going to be quite sensitive commercial. We need to be sure of ourselves of the ability to fund this and still get a return on our investment. And there are advantages to us in increased return on investment. And if we don't do it, I wonder whether that will even stay in the deed of concession, because there is a real risk that we as investors and the other investors, you have to ask yourself as an investor, would you actually look forward over that 35 years and forego that income? So it's a case of deciding, do we commit to some environmental advantages, or do we actually just simply commit to a financial return and lose that opportunity? So I look forward to next fortnight and what we see in the consultation document, and I look forward to the responses that we get from it. It's an opportunity and people can respond to it or not respond to it. So.
Thank you. Seconder.